Absolutely. 2 sets of.
Good morning. Before you start the meeting, just a quick announcement from the technical side. We're not sure how many people will join in from over the internet, but when you're speaking today, please come up and stand on the red X. And it allows the people out there to get good audio and visual, and it would just, it helps a lot. And I know what happens, we get in terms of the discussion going, but it would really help if you go to the red X. So with that, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, let's bring the meeting to order. One quick thing. Tony's got to leave at quarter after 11, so we're going to try to push this along as quickly as we can, but still get everything done that we need done.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I will call in on the road. I have a closed door session on some other litigation up in Fort Myers.
No problem.
That'd be helpful. Today is our company's Christmas party and luncheon, and for some reason they expect me to pay, and so I'll need.
Where's the address so we know where to go?
Fancy taco place in Mercado. I show up with the American Express card, and they all have a great time.
Okay.
Sounds like we should be there.
Let's start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's nice to see so many people here today. Thanks for coming. Okay, should we start with the roll call? Now, Annalise is on, and so we'll need to make a motion that we can let her join in.
Finding exceptional, extraordinary circumstances.
That's the one.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
I make the motion that we include Annalise in the meeting.
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye. You're on, Elise.
Thanks.
You want to call in the rest? Say everybody's here.
Yes, we should note that today's meeting was noticed in accordance with statute. Copy of the affidavit is on file, and otherwise all of the board members are present with Annalise by phone, as you just determined.
We've got a guest here, Collier County Code Enforcement fella isn't going to make it today.
Next month.
Yep. Okay, so that will be stricken. We do have someone here from Water Keepers that I would like to get on first if we could, so that we don't keep him here any longer than we need. I lost where there he is.
All right, you want to?
Which way is the X face?
Just hang on a second, Ray. You want to adjust the agenda entirely and then?
Yeah, we should
Let's
approve the agenda.
Okay, sorry.
As submitted. We should note that the Collier County Code Enforcement item, they've canceled. They'll be here next month.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move right to the front of the agenda. Is there any other agenda items we have to change?
I don't have any additions. Tony, do you have any?
No, sir.
All right.
We have a motion to approve the agenda. as
Motion to
submitted.
approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lisa?
Aye. I'm waiting.
All right, Ray, now we can have you on.
Okay.
Formality.
Good morning, everyone. I'll probably be very brief here. I appreciate the opportunity to come out and introduce myself and explain very briefly what the water keeper is, what our role is, and how that affects Port of the Islands. We are a local group that's franchised or licensed under the International Waterkeeper Alliance, which their elevator pitch is, we protect drinkable, swimmable, fishable water for generations to come. And in the past, the Collier County chapter of the Waterkeeper Alliance has been in existence since 2018. There have been a succession of waterkeepers in that period. I took over as the executive director of the group and waterkeeper in May of this year. Since I started, what we have been doing is essentially building from the ground up a grassroots organization that reaches across all parts of the county. In the past, there was a tendency to kind of stay, a little bit of telescopic vision on the beaches or Naples or the places that you see in the tourism ads. But we recognize that Collier County is not only a vast area, but it has an extremely diverse and interconnected hydrology. And so we try to educate people about how that system works, how that affects everything from the discharges down the Caloosahatchee River to the Everglades Restoration Program to the sometimes unintended consequences of those remedial actions that then blow back on developments like Port of the Islands, because you are like right in the path of where the sheet flow is being restored. And so our strategy is not to be confrontational, but to be collaborative. We believe that if you can get people to sit down in good faith, even when they have competing economic interests, you can arrive at outcomes. None of us ever get everything we want, but at least we can do the best that we can under the circumstances. And the waterkeeper groups across Florida, actually across the nation, a lot of times they are led by attorneys, and a lot of times they are led by scientists. In this case, I am neither an attorney nor a scientist, but I am, but my background is journalism, and so our mission is to do education. And beyond that, I'm not interested in, having 350,000 informed Collier County residents. I'm interested in having 350,000 motivated Collier County residents. And to pull an example from the headlines that just happened recently, right now my main priority is to get 1,000 people in the county to agree to send $5 a month to the waterkeeper. That pays for our insurance and keeps the lights on. And I never would have believed that the waterkeeper would require so much in the way of insurance. But if we can do that, we have 1,000 people. So then when the Collier County commissioners sit down and decide to basically gut a program that Collier County voters approved, which was Conservation Collier, to buy up land that's necessary to maintain this hydrological pattern that I discussed, then we can put 200 or 300 people in the chambers that day to say, we have memories and we're not afraid to use them. Now, we are a 501c3, so technically we do not get involved in any kind of direct political action, but we do work in conjunction with 501c4 that can do that, and also to just generate public interest, public awareness, and ideally to motivate people to act on behalf of the resource that brought so many of us here and keeps so many of us here. So with that, if anyone has questions, I'll let you get on with your business. But
What can we do to cooperate with you?
Go to my website, colliercountywaterkeeper.org,
Okay.
and there's a little form right there. You fill out the form online. You agree to pay your $5 a month or pay it by the year in advance if you want to. You become a paid member of the Waterkeeper Alliance Collier County chapter. I get criticized a lot by my board of directors. They go, "Why are you asking for $5 a month? Are you serious about doing this or not?"
Right.
And I go, most people give more anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But $5 a month is what I need to make the nut. That's what keeps us in our office with the lights on and the insurance paid. And that's all it is. We get no funding anywhere else. Our model is that once we get that established, then every initiative that we start, for instance, a water testing plan that includes Port of the Islands, includes the marina, monitors the canal, monitors the way manatees are protected in the canal, then we can take that out, put that in the form of a pro forma, take it to a donor and say, look, here's a package that comes right out of our briefcase. You want to fund this for the year. as opposed to walking around with a tin cup going, hey, give us some money so we can do something good.
Okay, while we're on that then, could, I would like to suggest that we give him a donation of $100, have Doral Management Company as a contact for Port of the Islands? What do you guys feel?
I'm trying to figure out what he does. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, I heard a lot, and I heard a little bit at the end about testing the water. Mitch had the water tested, right? And we had 31 count for E. coli. Do you know what that means? Nobody seems to know what that means.
Yeah, well, the problem, the challenge with testing is that without analyzing the data over time, you really don't have much just with the test. The first phase of testing that we are going to undertake is going to be for enterococci, basically, poop water.
Right, he got a fecal count too. He said his fecal
term.
count was 300.
Now, the challenge there is that it's not necessarily anthropocentric. It doesn't necessarily have to come from people. It can be
Right.
birds. This is what happened down at Tiger Tail Lagoon years ago. But the biggest thing that we do is not testing. It's not beach cleanup. These are all elements of the program that are designed to build the Waterkeeper brand and build Waterkeeper awareness. The main thing that we do is we go out, we talk to citizens, we let them know what they can do to change the things that they find unsatisfactory. You are probably aware, when I left here, there were newspapers here. There's no newspapers here anymore. People don't know what's going on. So part of our mission is to provide that. We provided, our website will provide an aggregate of environmental information that people can use to help inform themselves. And we also, frankly, think it's ludicrous to think about protecting water if you don't regulate growth. And I mean, growth management was a thing when I was writing about it back in the 80s. That was before.
There is no growth management, right?
That was before it was all gutted in 2011. And so now it's just Katie bar the door. But everyone who is stuck on Immokalee Road for 3 hours just to put food on the table is a potential Waterkeeper supporter, because when we make them understand that it is this complete unregulated, unmanaged growth that is pulling all the resources away, and at the same time, it is diminishing the quality of the water here. And, at some point, we're going to have to address the idea that if the aquifers are getting full of salty water because we're pulling too much, you're going to be, if you think affordable housing is an issue, wait till you try and price affordable water. And with the development that's going into the east, it's a critical time, and we think that by making people aware of the challenges in unregulated growth and how that affects water, that's going to be long-term, that's going to affect their quality of life.
So you correlate and collect information and then, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
They are a conservation and advocacy group, but who approach issues from a scientific basis. And it's similar to the Collier County Conservancy. They're an advocacy group, but they have an environmental and scientific arm to them. And so they advocate and lobby for the causes that he's alluded to.
Yeah, thanks. That's.
Yeah. I love you. We got a long meeting today, so I'm also
I'd like
trying
to work
see if
with
there's
them.
some consensus.
How do you fellows feel?
$100, what's that? That's nothing.
Go.
To make that determination, the board in a motion, if they wish to pursue that, is to find a valid public purpose in making a donation to this organization. Because you can only spend money for public purpose, and the articulated public purpose is to monitor
Okay, what
water
is it?
quality in the community and in the area.
Okay, he wants part of your motion to join the organization to recognize that there is a public purpose and benefit to this community to do
To
that.
spend the money, yes.
Okay, so you want to make that motion?
I would like to, I can make the motion, I would like to tie it to the SERP project, Everglades Restoration Project and the sheep flow, because we are dealing with issues with that. And I know you're very connected to that project.
I am, actually, I'm working with the Big Cypress Basin Board to try and get some clarification on why some of the mitigation that was promised was not forthcoming.
That could be very helpful to us.
But essentially, you know, I mean, as an aside, one of the reasons that you don't have newspapers anymore is because it costs a lot of money to do news. I mean, if you're just doing.
Does anyone else have anything? Oh, can you come up, please?
Well, I'm just curious as to
Come on up, please.
how,
Give me your name,
Get on the red.
Get your name first.
I'm just curious as to,
Can I get your name only because our
Name?
minutes?
Melanie Sheedy.
Okay.
I'm curious to know if, once since you know some stuff about the sheet flow that's coming towards us, what happens to us? So what, if it was to be restored, what happens to this place?
You know, it would be premature for me to say anything at this point. You know, we are looking into it, but I would not begin to.
Dan here has been working on that very, very closely, and he's mentioned it with him.
Okay.
So we're trying to get to it, but it isn't something that you can get to very easily.
Well,
Your answer.
but I mean, somebody must know, right?
I'm sure I could answer your question, but it's a long answer. All right, so we have gone to meetings, we've been with Corps engineers, we've been with South Florida Water Management extensively, and at this point, the Corps engineers has changed their, it started back in the 50s and it comes all the way up to here, right, this program. I would love to sit down, and after the meeting, I would stay after the meeting. Anybody that wants to know more about it, I would be happy to tell you all about it.
Good idea.
How's that?
All right. Anything else?
There's a motion and a second. You'll need to call the question.
There's a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll let you get on with your business, but I will be in touch, and you know how to reach me, and,
We do.
We will.
okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming to the meeting, appreciate your
Have a
time.
good day.
All right.
So that takes us up to public comments. Anyone with public comment, please? Captain?
Thank you. Catherine Kellmeyer, 314 Newport Drive. I have a document here in front of me from Collier County, OR 4905, page 1384. I only brought one copy because it's 20 pages long, so I will give it to Neil and he can distribute. But this is a maintenance agreement and grant of easement between the CID, Sunset K, Master, and all the 16 sub-associations on the west side of Newport Drive. Page 2, paragraph 3, it says, the district responsibility to provide mosquito spraying shall be contingent upon the annual appropriation of funds by the district as required by Florida law. I would like to contend that because of this agreement, our driveways are covered under this, and that the district should be spraying our driveways, not just down Newport Drive. Thank you.
He's not going in the parking lot?
No.
Yeah, the parking lot is our driveway.
See, that's what happened when you lost me spraying, because I was spraying the parking lot. I'll talk to him.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I didn't know
We were
that.
unaware of that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Anyone else?
No, but we wanted to see that done because all it does when you spray the road is just scare everything right over to us.
Oh,
So
okay.
we can't even stand being outside.
We'll take care, we'll make sure that happens.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Public comments are closed then. Approval of the minutes of the meetings from November 17th.
Yes, sir. These were prepared and coordinated in advance with Annalise. I believe that she's happy with them, but she made one minor edit, and I have one additional edit, if I could, on page 4. This was the issue concerning bank services proposal. You authorized a change in banks, and I just need to reflect that the motion also designated Ms. Hanson and/or Mr. Kish to be the second signatory on the bank resolution.
Very good.
Yeah,
That's fine.
but I backed out of that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Subsequently, he did, but that was the motion and/or, and so I
So
just
we have
need
to
to
change the
insert that
motion
the fact that you opted out is in accordance with your desire.
Yeah. The information they were asking for was unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just got hacked. My checking account, somebody did a Target credit card in my name, and they wanted my driver's license, my social security, my date of birth, my mother's maiden name. They wanted everything I wasn't gonna give them.
I
So
gotcha.
I
If you're
backed
not
out.
comfortable with it, that's
No.
fine.
No, and we've assured him that the motion included both Ms. Hanson and/or Mr. Kish to the signature card. I need to submit this to the bank, and he's correct. Following 9/11, the Patriot Act changed America with respect to banking and things like that, and you can't open an account now without providing that sort of information. But if we could reflect that one little addition there, I have no other changes.
Okay. So do we need someone else besides?
I'm authorized, we need a second authorized signatory on that account, and so,
Mike?
Ms. Hanson, if you want to
Yeah.
designate us here today, I don't have a problem with that. That's a board decision.
I'm fine with it. I submitted all my information. I did make them send me a secure document before I would do it, though. So it's all done. I'm ready to go.
Okay, are we good enough then?
You are. I just need to amend
Go ahead and amend that.
last month's minutes to submit to the bank to have a little paper trail there.
Please do that.
Okay?
Anybody else have any
I
corrections?
have no other changes.
No, sir.
They looked really nice, Annalise and Deb Jansen and whoever else had a hand in this, looked very good. Okay, motion to approve the minutes for November 17th.
Make the motion.
Second the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Managers report?
I have just several quick updates here, and then happy to answer any questions. The website conversion is underway. We had a little difficulty with GoDaddy, who is the domain provider for that, and to make sure that my name is added as the contact to give our new firm, which is ExploreTech, access to the site itself in order to give us a fee proposal, but that work will be done before your next meeting. I have given you today a proposal to continue to provide the video, Zoom, and post-production work associated with making this a virtual meeting. Tony and I have reviewed it. Tony would like to see some of the standard language added with respect to any documents that they may produce, or in fact public documents under Florida law, some e-verify language to make sure that, and these are all statutory requirements for any local government entity. The fee proposal is sort of in two parts. The preferred or staff recommendation would be $1,000 per month to include both mobilization, setup, production during the meeting, and then the post-production to get it uploaded to the website so that we have a video file and depository there. There's an alternative where if we want to provide the equipment, I don't want to own and operate and maintain the type of equipment that's involved, but there is an alternative there for $600, but our recommendation, assuming the vast, interest here to be able to have virtual meetings and a video depository of your meetings on your website, I think it's a good fee, and it's been pretty well received. We've actually had some comments at our office that the quality is very good.
Okay, with that, right after this, I would like to tell everybody exactly what we're looking at here for pricing and what this is going to include, because I'm going to want to see a show of hands from the public, because I think this is too much for the board to just to make a decision on. I'd like to know what the feelings of the people are here, and there's a lot of people here, so, does the board have any discussion on this?
I do.
Go ahead, go.
Okay, I know it's $1,000. We started this out with looking for the equipment that we could set up when we come here, turn it on and get a pretty decent production without the $1,000 cost. All right, we'll have cost in some startup equipment, but after that, it would be like we used to do, come in early and get it working and go. I don't know that I can justify $1,000 per meeting to have the video equipment sit here. That's my opinion. I think that we can do it. If we have to buy our own equipment, I think that we can do it that way. And we'll just set it up ourselves and make it work. Use all the equipment right here. The cameras are all over the internet. You can buy that same setup right there.
This proposal includes a purchase option for equipment, as I understand it.
It does.
It does.
And so, yeah.
That was when we got started with this project. That was what we put out there, is that we were looking for the equipment that we could set up and keep it inexpensive. And I think we start spending $15,000, $16,000 a year on somebody recording at our meetings. I think that's money that could go elsewhere.
Anyone else?
I agree with.
Okay.
It seems kind of exorbitant, unless we buy
I
it
mean,
ourselves.
I agree it's expensive, but who's gonna do it? I think we need to come up with something else. Maybe they can work on the price. If we own the equipment, maybe they can work on the price.
Mr. Lee, I don't want to speak for either one of you, but if I could, item 4 here, as I understand it, if you want to purchase and own and operate the equipment, you can. And then there's a separate hourly rate on a as-incurred basis for what would be technical support or services. And so if you want to own it and store it and set it up and do the mobilization, then, as I understand it, there is a separate service fee at $100 per hour that would be on the support side.
Am I wrong? Is this to encompass 2 hours? And anything over 2 hours we pay?
No.
No?
No, that's a straight up 600.
Okay, I
Because
thought that-
some of your meetings are 1 hour, some of your meetings are 5 hours. We have about 1 hour of
Prep?
setup time and then, time to tear down.
Okay.
Tear down's a little bit
I
faster.
thought that was in here originally.
Yeah, no, the miscellaneous was for if you wanted me to do video editing before you post it, or I give you the copy of the things. Anything that's incidental that's not part of the meeting.
Okay, so what they're looking at is basically, and now, is this for 12 meetings or all our meetings?
Well, you do a meeting, it's 600 if you own the equipment, it'd be 1,000.
No. What I'm getting at is sometimes we have additional meetings when we're doing budgeting and whatever not. Is that an additional 1,000 each meeting?
It can be, if you want to set it up that way, we can set it up so it's a monthly thing, rather than per meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had a couple of instances where for one reason or another, the meeting is continued. It's not adjourned, but continued to another day or the next day. And I think if we were to have a budget workshop or something like that.
Would you agree to $12,000 a year?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where we're at. $1,000 a meeting, or for 12 meetings, total $12,000 a year. Or we can buy their equipment from them at $4,000, and then they would charge us $600 a meeting to come in and run it. So that's where we're at.
It's open for.
Yeah, so I would like to see a show of hands who would like for us to go with the $1,000 a month or the $12,000 plan. Could I please see it?
Before we do that, could we take comments from the board?
Sure. Steve?
I don't want to put you guys in the spot, but I know you guys have started this as a trial. You're going to try to bring your services to other communities, and I wish you well with that. You live in this community. These board members are donating their time to do this. I would ask, as they're getting a nominal fee for the amount of time that they put in. They're donating their time, trust me. I know how hard these guys work. So I think I would ask you guys, if you could donate your time as a member of this community to support these guys, I think that would be a great gesture. You don't need to respond, I'd say table it, and you guys can think about it and maybe come up with at least a reduced fee, because I feel like that's a fair fee if you're going out to anybody else. But coming here, this is our community, and it would be great if you guys would help us out that way. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Steve. Okay. Any other comments? Sir?
Up to a couple of months ago, I would,
Name, please?
my name's Mike King, from Port of the Islands,
Okay.
Orchid Cove.
Just for the
Up to
record.
a couple of months ago, I would have probably gone for this.
Mhm.
But the way the minutes are now, they read like a book, they're like you were there.
They're good.
So I don't know that we need both.
Okay.
And I applaud whoever made those minutes because they are phenomenal.
Perfect, thank you. Now, on that note, the last 2 years, I've basically been going through all of Port of the Islands records, reading all the past minutes of meetings and whatnot. When this started out, we had really good minutes. No, to start with, we had, some of them were up to 50 pages long. Then there got to be a time after Cal came in where we got basically notes. And we've lost so much information over that time because we don't have an accurate record in our minutes. For me personally, I like the audio and the visual. I don't care so much about the visual as I do the audio, because I like to be able to go back and listen to a meeting because I can get the feel for what people are saying. Reading words isn't the same as looking somebody in the face or listening to their tone of their voice and whatnot. So for me personally, I like the idea. Now, how we come up with, how we do it, that's up to you folks. But that's my slant on it. Go.
Hi, Catherine Kellmeyer. I have not really been online listening other than when COVID was going on. My impression, and I could be way wrong on this, the people that are not here are getting better audio than people that are here, because we have a few board members, Dan, we have our attorney, who are very soft-spoken people. And I don't know if anybody in the back can actually hear what's being said. I would like some kind of microphone here so people that are here can hear much better than the people that stay home and are online. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll address
I'll
that.
work on talking up.
There you go. I could train you. Go.
Are there other options? Did you look for other options? Other people, other bids?
We have.
And
We're not coming up with it.
Very expensive.
Very expensive.
okay.
40, 50,000.
My client at Pelican Bay is paying more than what this proposal is, and it entails mobilization, and then somebody then there's always something wrong.
See, that's the problem here with this stuff. Dave here really knows his stuff, and he struggled to get this up and running. The first meeting wasn't very good because we had issues. He spent a lot of time going through that. I don't know who we've got in here who's going to be able to do that on our own. I'm not saying there isn't somebody, but I don't know that they're going to give us their time, and I don't know how to do it.
Catherine Oswald, Sunset K. Am I to understand, I haven't been here for the last couple meetings, so this is great. I love this. Do we only have two options, the two options that we're voting on today? Like either the $12,000 or?
Yeah, or not at all.
Okay, or not at all, okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm delighted to hear that people are pleased with the quality of the service, and it should get better. I do want to clarify something, because, not everybody comes to every meeting, so I want to make sure everybody's up to speed here. There is no surprise, sir, that we were setting this up as a platform for another
Please.
business. I announced that to this board. When I first appeared before you. We referenced it in other meetings, you know, and that's not a secret. Quite honestly, we were looking at vending it less expensive to you guys. But we appreciate the cooperation and the ability to come in here and to set this up. We have made an investment. Just a couple of quick clarifying points. Should you decide to buy the equipment, okay, we got a very, very good deal on the equipment. It's the latest they have, top of the art. We can purchase some extra modifications. And if you decide to buy that, we will sell it to you for exactly what we paid for it and not 1 penny more. Okay? We have done 3 meetings now, which consists of, we had great cooperation. I just need an extra second from Orchid Cove. They have been the best hosts in the world to us in trying to get this. We had to come down the night before we set up. We did present a new configuration, which I think the board's pleased with, and I've just been pleased with the positive comments. But there certainly was no, that was public that we were just hoping to do business. We want to work with you in any way that we can.
Excuse
we'd be happy
me.
to discuss it.
We're hearing you guys up here.
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No, just some over talk. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I had my back turned so I couldn't see. Anyway, I just want to say we appreciate the management company, Orchid Cove, and this board for letting us set up and fine tune this technology. I think it would get better. We think there's value there, but we completely understand you must vote your conscience. And, you know.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Big Frank. Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's just, okay.
Can I, just real quick, I just want to ask a question. Legally, I'm Carol Williams, Wilderness. What do we have to comply with legally when we have a meeting? Do we have to have a video repository, or do we just need to have good minutes?
No, this was intended to be a community-oriented, value-added service to increase participation.
We don't even have to have good minutes, because we've proven that. So,
I'm sorry, just, okay, it's state of the art now, but do we have an option to, because we all know that technology changes like this, okay? Do we have an option to get an upgrade at a pretty good deal when that technology is no longer good?
Well, just-
I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. On the X.
Technology is wonderful now, but
Yeah.
next week, it could be different.
we always have the option of canceling
Okay.
this at any time,
Like I said, I haven't been here for 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
but we only can work with what we've got, the technology we've got today, and we'll worry about tomorrow.
Okay.
But can I see a show of hands of who's interested in doing the package, the entire package, the $12,000 a year? Only 3, 4. Okay. How about people who are interested in us buying the equipment and hiring them at $600 per meeting to come and run it? Can I see a show of hands who is interested in that?
No, wait a minute, so is that 7,200 a year, right, just for that? And then we own the equipment, so,
Yes.
so we go from 12 to 7,200 if we own it.
We have to pay for the equipment.
Right, yeah, the first year, but then it's 7,200 a year.
Buying the equipment and setting up.
How about buying the equipment and finding somebody else to run it? Anybody?
How about no video services at all?
How about no video services at all?
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we've got 8 or 9.
What about just audio?
We don't have to,
Okay, how about just audio then?
meaning the folks at home can hear it.
Yes, like a Zoom meeting, just like we've been doing.
Yeah.
Just call in. I just voted twice. I just voted twice.
That's okay, that's fine. You can vote twice. All right, so it looks to me like people aren't inclined to want to spend the money, that they would like us to try to figure out how to make the Zoom thing work.
Want to vote on that last statement?
I'm sorry?
Let's vote on that last statement. It looks like.
Anybody else have any input on this?
How about they tweak their price a little bit?
Gentlemen?
I would like to see us have some type of video. It actually helps. Annalise, you're on video and that helps. The sound
Yeah,
is good.
I would like to see them come up with another price. Maybe a little
See,
less.
for me, I've been coming in here with my, until these guys came in, I've been coming in with my iPad and doing my own recording so that when after the meeting, I can go back home and I can rewatch it because I don't remember everything. And for me, that's personally been good enough. But I suppose at some point I could turn those over to Neil as public records, so they would get in there that way. But, you know, that's pretty low tech. But,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
How many people are actually online watching this right now?
It varies. I don't know how many there are
There's
today.
7 participants right at the moment. There were 8 earlier. The meeting's running pretty much around to 8, I think, for the last 2 before.
We had almost 20 back during the budget deliberations, and so it can be as few as today, as many as 20.
I used to watch them online and it was impossible. This is a great system. A lot of people that are not here in season, out of season, I mean, this is a great tool and for record keeping and seeing what actually happened. And the system is well worth it. You can see how clear it is and how professional it is. That's my opinion, but it's worth having. And what we were going through before, we would waste an hour in the meeting trying to figure it out, reboot the system, redo that. If either you have professionals running it or you don't do it at all, because it's just a waste of everybody's time trying to reboot things and things weren't working and people calling, hey, I can't hear, I can't call it. So it's either.
Thanks, Joe, you're right.
It is.
You are. You're right. Absolutely.
I think if they could get to like 500 a month, I would go for it. 6,000 a year is better than.
Yes, Ron, come on up. Come on up, Ron.
Ron Western, Case Drive, Port of the Islands. Just a clarification, my understanding was with the equipment and we're renting their services, if something were to break, they were replacing.
Sure.
And there was no cost to the board.
Sure.
No cost to the community. I think that needed clarification and everybody needs to know that. That was part of the price.
Mm-hmm.
Something breaks, it gets replaced.
They're giving us a service.
Exactly. And this equipment versus what we had in the past, there's just no comparison whatsoever. No comparison. So that's all I wanted to say, and I want the clarification that people realize something breaks, it's fixed.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yes, I viewed some of the meetings that were in the past before this board, and it was just impossible to see anything that was going on. Everything was fuzzy. It was terrible video. You couldn't tell who was saying what, and I think it's very important to have something high quality like this, especially if something important does happen, that you can go back. There might only be 8 or 20 people that are watching this video while it's live. But how many people are actually going back and reviewing it after the fact, on their own time? That's the important thing to consider as well.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing that just jumped out of my head here too is that we're involved in some lawsuits. Like right now, we've got one going on over there with Scott Preppin and whatnot. If we actually had a record like this, I think it could be of value to us when we go into a litigation situation. What do you think, Tony?
Sometimes there's pluses and minuses.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we could just put it that way.
Okay.
But generally I find either verbatim transcripts like the county commission or planning commission and or videos as being extremely helpful for me when I go back.
But we can't even do verbatim because we don't have the
What I'm
ability.
saying, so the video would be in essence a verbatim. And I always find that extremely helpful going back as to what really was stated, what were the comments, what was the direction. or what was the support, or, but again, it has a downside, because again, only because we had a lawsuit against one of my clients, an age discrimination lawsuit, and there was a verbatim audio recording that was used as the basis for the lawsuit.
Okay.
We didn't think there was an issue, it was settled, but I'm just saying that was pinpointed in the lawsuit, like, so-and-so said such and such, here's the YouTube video.
I have another,
pluses and minuses.
okay, I have another suggestion. Could we pay for half of your equipment and do the $500 a month? Huh?
Pay for half the.
Negotiation.
So you got $4,000 tied up in equipment.
Right.
We give you $2,000 to help cover the half the equipment, and you charge us $500 a month. Would you be willing to do that?
I can consider it. I have to run the numbers with Frank.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to add, the more I think about it, as far as what you guys were talking about, is the total transparency you have with this.
And that was what we ran on.
Yeah, that you don't have any other way. If we bought the equipment and that $600, that's set up and everything, you come in for each meeting, that includes the setup. We don't have to set it up, you set it up?
Correct.
What do you think, Frank, would you entertain my proposal?
I'd like to say something first. All right, I am not unhappy with the equipment or the system that we have. I think it does a very good job. And I called in, I had to come in on video. I had a few meetings this summer when we were gone. It's excellent, it works very nice. My problem is really quite simple. You pay the board members here $200 to make the meeting, right? And in between the meetings, we probably put days into this stuff. All right, 5 hours yesterday at a meeting with the engineers out in the field. Tons of time to get this stuff done. And these people are people of our community, and they're gonna come into the meeting and get $1,000 a meeting to come in here and run the audio video for us. I just feel that somehow as a community, board members get a fraction of that and put in a lot more time. And we could see a better price or a better option come from the people of our community than paying them $1,000 to come in and run this for us. So that's where I'm at. It's not that it's a bad service, I like the service, it's great. I just feel that in line with everything else that we're trying to do in this community and what we pay other people, that is out of line.
So we can do two things. You can make a decision what you guys want to do today, or we can table this and give you proper time.
Yeah, this is a productive but unusual format. So
Yes.
we'll discuss.
Will that work? Should we just table it?
Actually, I'll tell you what, why doesn't the board just give us a counteroffer? What you think the services would be worth to you?
Yeah.
We can run the numbers. I mean, the one thing in here, you're seeing the equipment costs,
Yep.
but you're not seeing the Zoom licensing.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah, so,
you know,
yeah.
and again, and part of that equipment, I'm not putting the laptops in there, those are my personal
Yeah.
laptops, so we're just using them. So basically, you can break it up into service, you can break it up into equipment, you can put them together as a complete service where you're not worried about equipment. Ultimately, if we were to do this under contract, we're gonna have multiple sets of these. You're gonna have something back up. If I come in and the camera's not working, I've got to be able to reach into a box. You're not gonna accept, camera not working. So, there's other aspects to this service.
Very good.
So, but enlighten to Dan about, you're not being paid the same. They're not asking, the community's not asking you to bring $4,000 to the table and just put it in front of the community either.
Well, you don't want to know what it costs a board member to keep up and be here and fly here sometimes,
Okay.
because you're not going to be here. There's expenses that go with being a board member.
No, I understand Dan's perspective on this, and I respect it. As a decision, I will simply take a slightly different angle on it, and that is, again, I want to be very clear about this. We talked to you before, we talked to the management company, we came in, this is 3 meetings, we've been clear, transparent, and open since day one. At no time did any member of this body say, here's the thing you need to consider. We don't hire local residents
at a rate more than what the board members make. This is a new fact that came up today. So, again, we appreciate this, and I respect the perspective. So what I'd like to suggest is, let's ask you to table it, appoint someone, you go to Neil or whoever you want us to go to, and let's talk about this and see if we can work something out. If not, we genuinely thank you for the chance to come and work on this with you. If you want to purchase the equipment, again, we will sell it to you, not one penny of profit. As a matter of fact, some of it, there's about $300 or $400 worth of stuff I'll probably just donate. Okay?
And just as a suggestion, because I hear the board saying the quality of the product is outstanding.
Yes.
It has increased citizen participation,
Mhm.
and it establishes a really nice record after the fact. I have another plant right up the road at Laley Resort, and we own the equipment, and it's a disaster. It's a PA system, and the cords always have shorts in them, and the speaker gets feedback, and people holler from the room that they can't hear, and it's just, we own the equipment, the staff tries to set it up, but there's something wrong with it almost every month. So, there might be an opportunity to do some cost sharing with the Laley Resort Community Development District in order to get the overall fee down, or maybe, depending on what you might want to do, maybe you would own the equipment jointly with the Laley group. I'm just talking off the top of my head here, but if we can lower the cost and also give them some additional billable hours up the road close to here, I just offer that because I think the consensus of the board is that the overall product is good, it's just the cost is low.
Well, here's the thing. I like this. There's a true value here. I really don't want to table this. I hate it when we start on something and then we put it off to the next meeting because it never seems like it ever gets done in the next meeting or the one after that. So I'd like to deal with one thing at a time here. Now, you heard what he said about possibly going with Laley and whatnot.
Right.
I would like you to, well, do you guys want to buy half of the equipment or none of the equipment?
I think that's gonna,
Depends
I
on
think
the
that's,
offer.
yeah, I think that's gonna be a can of worms if we buy half of it.
I have a question,
even any of it,
another thing
yeah.
that I'm thinking of.
Let them
Hang on
respond.
one second, ma'am, if you don't mind. Let's see what the consensus, or if we can get a motion, and then he can ask for additional input.
Just give her 1 quick minute. What is it?
If you buy the equipment, where is it gonna be stored?
Okay, you're right,
Hauling
absolutely.
it back and forth from wherever could damage it.
But it just sounds like the board isn't interested in buying the equipment.
Right, no.
The other thing is, I mean, we have to consider, say this is 10, 12,000 a year, whatever we come up with, or you guys agree to. I mean, relative to what we pay Tony, what we pay the engineer.
I know, it's just
I mean,
drop in the bucket.
sometimes we pay the engineer 10 grand in a month.
I know.
So, for the, like, again, the transparency and the record keeping and everything that's there, I've kind of shifted the way I'm thinking.
Okay, so.
But I would like a little better price.
Make a proposal. What would you like?
Yeah, I'm kind of with that.
10 grand?
10 grand, yeah.
For the year.
For the year, and they
10
own the
grand for the year?
equipment, they take care of everything, they upgrade it.
Make
when it needs to be
make a
done.
counter, we'll review it, and then go from there.
Quickly?
I guess that's what I wanted to know. If we own the equipment, something breaks, who pays for it?
Right.
That type of thing.
Yeah, we
I
covered
don't want
that.
to own the equipment. So,
Well, again, we appreciate the opportunity, and we'll work with you to get a positive outcome. And if not, we're very thankful.
There's a suggestion that the fee would be $10,000 annualized off the schedule, and as I've offered, there might be some additional revenue for you up the road because of the problems we have trying to operate our own stuff.
What I'd like to do is with your, if the board would agree, I would like to discuss with you and your other client to see how firm that possibility is, because that would have a definite effect on what we're doing. Sure. And we could do that quickly.
But let's see if the consensus of the board, if there's consensus at 10,000 and an opportunity to have some further conversations with other clients.
we've pretty much made a pretty good decision, I think, and then it'll be whether they accept it next time. That's it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, you know, we're really kind of not going by what the residents are thinking.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll allow us to make a decision.
Why don't, I know you don't want to table it, Steve, but with the things that are out there, whether Larry will jump on board or not, we don't know those answers right now. We almost have to table it and see how this is going to wash out.
Will you come back next time?
Do you want me to be present?
Well, what I'm wondering is, will you do the next meeting for us?
Yes.
And if we hire you, we'll pay you for it.
There's a sweetener there. That's a reasonable definition of the term, you drive a hard bargain. That's in the book of records.
Well, there again, I don't want to lapse in here.
We'll do the next meeting.
Yeah, if I have to send you a couple bucks out of my pocket, I will.
Okay.
All right.
You're buying lunch.
Okay, all right.
So we'll continue the
We'll
item.
continue until next
month.
meeting.
We will explore some of the other alternatives that I have discussed, but the intent would be that the equipment will be provided and operated by the vendor.
And we will try to get together with Laley. You can facilitate that for us? Okay.
And we're looking at 10 grand right now.
Correct.
For the year, okay?
All right.
Thanks for your patience on this.
With that, and Mr. Chairman, we'll be back on the agenda. I did not deliberately intend to skip item B, but I should have said that the developer of Track 13, I have spoken to him, and Tony's had conversations with his attorney. They want to resubmit to you at the same time that this is scheduled before the county commission. And Tony, is that
Yeah.
essentially what Francesca's?
Yeah, that they discussed having the board defer any discussion involving this to the next regular board meeting.
Yeah.
So Lindsay Case and his folks can be there, an opportunity to present and discuss the development.
Just to give you a little heads up, though, I think what they're going to be coming back with is wanting to put all 109 residents on the 50 acres and not any residents on the dorm property. And part of that, with my issue on that is we have water lines on the east side of that dorm property. And the agreement was going to be that we were going to move those over to Union Road. Mr. Case was going to do that, I believe. And now if he doesn't put homes on there, that'll no longer be a necessity for him, and we would lose that. So that's just something to keep in mind. He cannot put 109 on there unless we agree to it. He can only put 100 on there unless we agree to it. So next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We've discussed item D and clarified the signatures on the bank card. I'm going to combine the next two items, and I'll need Mr. Truckey's help here. The engineer that had been shortlisted has voluntarily withdrawn their offer, Agnoli, Barber, and Brundage, just due to some concerns on their part about insurance rates and also copyright issues with respect to public records and who owns the intellectual property behind the design. So Agnoli Barber is out. That means that Neil will have to start over again to advertise for proposals from professional engineers. We have one project that is urgent, and this involves the further engineering study, planning study, or analysis of the damage that was caused to your raw water main. And Mr. Truckey has been working with staff in the furtherance of a FEMA claim to analyze the cost to repair the concrete main at least 10 locations or to replace that main. Now, this main's almost 2 miles long, and so we're talking a big ticket item, so the stakes are pretty high with FEMA. And so we have separately received a proposal from the Johnson Engineering firm. They're a big firm in Fort Myers. They were interested and did give us a response to your original request, but it was late. And so I declared it non-responsible because it was past the deadline. They're a very well-qualified firm that we have experience with both at Pelican Marsh and Pelican Bay, and we need some engineering assistance. So there was a meeting here, was it yesterday? Or the day before?
Yesterday.
Okay, and so I've got an individual task in the furtherance of our FEMA claim, and Dan, I was not at the meeting, but I'd ask you to add whatever comments you might have on that.
I'll try to talk loud. All right, we met with the new engineering firm, Johnson Engineering. They had one of their engineers come out and take a look at our railroad and what it looks like, and discuss some of the options available that we can work with FEMA to actually help us pay for that. So we have to have that done relatively soon, although we will hurry up and rush to get the estimates together. FEMA will take it and run it through their channels, and then it'll seem like everything slows down again while FEMA goes through it, but they are waiting our documentation to go any further, and we don't want to hold that up and risk losing the chance for the grant. So we have to get this done very timely to move forward with it. So they came out, they were very nice, very knowledgeable, willing to work with us on this project. And I would recommend that we go ahead and hire him for this one project. And then we're going to have to open back up the advertising for engineering companies. I believe that their intention is to come back in and be timely with their proposal to be our engineering firm. And we'll have to look at anyone else also that comes into that, okay? It's another process, but for the time being, I think it's a very good idea to move forward with this, with Johnson Engineering on this water line from the wells to the plant.
So we need to, because we're talking about probably $1.5 million, maybe even higher. And
don't we have to put that up for bid?
Well, I was going to comment on that. I've had discussions with Neil about this, and it's characterized properly so as a planning or studying activity.
Sure.
And the cost is under $35,000, so the competitive solicitation requirements do not come into play. I've known Johnson Engineering for years also. They are also the engineers for one of my other districts I represent, and in the past were the engineers for another district. So they've been around a long time.
Okay.
Carl Johnson.
So no bids are required.
For this particular scope of work.
To this task only on a time and materials basis. The estimate.
Good question, Mr.
Is $15,000 to $20,000, but in an amount not to exceed 25 if they have other costs. I don't expect that it would come anywhere near that.
Okay, so this is really to put together an analysis of repair costs versus new cost on the pipe. FEMA, in order to go forward, has to know if the repair costs go over a certain percentage, they'll move with us to replace it at new cost, okay? If it doesn't, that's up to FEMA, but at this time, that's what we're looking for, is to get that analysis done so we can move forward. Now, FEMA right now also has another nice development, is they're picking up another percentage. Normally FEMA on this project right here would be probably 75-25. They'll pick up 75% of the cost, we'll do 25. They have moved because of the damages in the community from the hurricane to pick up 100% of the cost.
Wow.
So if we can move forward with this and actually get the FEMA grant, then this is not guaranteeing a FEMA grant. You don't know until the day they pay for it that you have the FEMA grant. It is a process, all right? And
but it looks really good.
But we are in the process, well into the process, and it's looking good. So that's why we need to move with this.
So if I could, we'll need a motion to authorize the chairman to execute the task order. Tony has made some minor edits for legal sufficiency with respect to E-Verify and public records. But I'd like to be able to have him authorized to sign the proposal at today's meeting and not continue this for another month.
Let's do that as soon as we hear from
Mr. Truckee, would you be willing to make that motion?
Yes.
Is there then a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now you have comments.
Terry?
I have two things. One, Neil, you might have the answer. On FEMA, do you have to wait for FEMA before you do repairs, or can you do the repairs and you'll still get the FEMA money?
No. No, working with the
I'm
FEMA.
asking Neil, because I know he's quite familiar with it.
Not the nature of this particular issue.
Okay, but what about the other FEMA grants we're trying for.
The other mitigation grants is sort of the same thing. I mean, we always can spend our money in the furtherance of that, but some of these hardening or mitigation grants, I think we'd be well advised to wait to see whether or not we're going to be eligible.
Okay, and we
before
don't have a time frame how FEMA works.
How did it work when you guys put in for the FEMA grants?
They used to do some work before they got the FEMA money, but like he says, it depends on what the grant is for. But my other question is, I'm on the fire board for Port of the Islands, and it came up that they have just found out you have leaks in the pipe, and they're very concerned. I don't know how it impacts them, but I imagine they'll be following up on that. I just want to give you a heads up.
Good enough.
Okay?
All right, do we want to take a vote on this? All in favor? Aye. Lisa?
Hi, sorry, I'm writing.
Oh, she's taking minutes.
I think that takes us down to the financials, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
These are still somewhat preliminary. I mean, this is as of the first month of the new fiscal year, so there's nothing really incredible here, but I do want to point to a couple of things. We have almost $4.3 million in cash as depicted on the balance sheet under the assets, total assets of the district, including the value of the utility system and the other infrastructure, $15,531,000. The total current assets less depreciation right at $13 million. Had $160,000 in payables on the liability side at the end of the first month. Next page on the income statement. Again, I think these things are meaningful. $15,500 in interest in 1 month. That's really good. And so that, is going to flow through to the bottom line. Additionally, we had non-ad valorem assessments of almost $22,000 between the two funds. I get asked this question, nobody got a tax bill until November, so how did you get tax money in October? Some people's mortgages require them to escrow taxes, and insurance and banks will prepay quarterly in anticipation of what those sort of expenses are. So that's the quick discussion there. At the end of the first 4 weeks of the fiscal year, there's really nothing from an expense side, and so I'll stop there and just tell you that overall your cash position remains very strong, and you got a good tight budget. I do want to give you a quick update on the utility rate analysis. Mr. Wyer's firm has elected to take a pass. He does not have the capacity, so I've reached out to a second firm, Ratalis, who has been the county's utility rate consultant for over 25 years. I've had discussions with the principal. I'm awaiting a proposal. I'm going to get a third proposal as a backup from the Florida Rural Water Association. They're a cooperative of communities and interests like ours who own small sub-regional type systems, because we committed as part of our work plan to have this work underway during the first quarter of the new year in order to coincide with your budget process. And so I'm still proceeding in two avenues to try and get us a consultant to do the rate analysis to evaluate your utility ERC matter, and that work is underway.
Very good.
Motion to accept the financials, and then
before I forget, sorry. This agenda packet now is on our website. So all these financials, everything that we're seeing now, you folks can pull up on your website, okay?
Thank you. One disclaimer before you vote. That we always come to the meeting and we have certain things that are received after it's been uploaded to pass out, like proposals for audio-visual services. And so as we go forward, I have an obligation to upload and send to them the agenda a week in advance. You will get it at the same time, but the way it happens, there's always handouts that will occur that we'll pass out, but that's just because of when they're received.
Will they be on the website eventually? The extra handouts,
Not currently.
Will they be?
Not currently.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
They're public records and you could get them, but that just creates another thing for me to have to remember to do, and it just gets a little unwieldy.
Sure.
So we have a motion to accept the financials and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with that, we're down to utility
Aye.
operation.
Mitch?
Good morning.
Thank you.
The wastewater plant, everything's running good. Water plant, we're meeting all of our requirements. You know the issues with the reuse station over on the canal. I did have a generator company come over. There is no saving the generator that's on the canal, so we're just gonna have to keep limping along the way we are until we decide what to do.
Can we, Mitch, for that, can we run on our generator?
Yes, we have it ready. If we need to, we can run one of the temporaries over and tie it.
So there's not a risk?
There's no.
Yeah.
There is no risk. If we have a failure at the plant, it will call us. So there is no risk unless all the power went out and the generator at the plant failed. So there is backup, but the backup for the backup.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
All right.
Wastewater treatment plant, we did 2.6 million gallons of water, 3.2 on the water, and sent out almost 9 million in reuse. Only 980 gallons of chlorine. All the pump stations, we did have a call out for a pump station on Case Drive. Somehow someone flushed a washcloth down the commode that made its way to the pump, but it didn't damage the pump. We just pulled it out.
How big a process is that?
It goes into alarm, it calls us out, we come down, it's not working, we pull the pump out.
How big a job is it to pull that pump?
Well, a truck with a crane pulls it out.
Okay,
So
'cause I saw a bill from you, and I think it was like 6 hours or something.
Yeah, so money-wise, it is 4 to 6 hours for me to send a service tech, to pull it out, unclog it, put it back in and test it.
Very good.
So, all those parts that you guys approved for the wastewater plant in conjunction with the permit renewal, everything except for one of the floating aerators has arrived. It should be here any day, and then in January, we'll get on that and hope to plow through all that stuff and get it done.
How's the roof holding up on that water tank?
The roof is in
still
not
okay?
great condition,
We
but
still
it
okay?
is okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, any questions for me?
One.
Sure.
We were gonna talk a little bit about the staining of the
iron in the water.
So I've had this question many times over the years. The irrigation water is reused, but it is a very, very, very small percentage of reuse. So it is 2 to 10% reuse water, which all reuse water, before we can mix it for irrigation, has to meet secondary drinking water standards. 90% of the water that is sent out for irrigation is just raw groundwater pumped straight out of the ground.
And there's iron in it.
There is nothing
And there's
we can do about
no
it.
economical way of removing it.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, the only thing I can recommend is to have your lawn people set the irrigation up where it does not spray the house or the driveway.
Now, we spoke about this, and you talked about different types of products that might remove these stains?
That was not me.
Okay.
Some of them are commercially available at Home Depot, and I use them personally.
I would like us to come up with that, maybe put that on the website, but something that is compatible with our water here. So I don't want to put something toxic on anywhere that's going to end up in canals.
Yeah, I'll do a little research.
Look into iron, I use that to clean stuff back up north.
I think it's all phosphoric acid.
Yeah.
Which isn't a good thing, right?
And that's all just
phosphorus you don't want in the water, right?
on after the fact to clean off the rest.
Okay.
I don't know how it breaks down.
Anybody have any questions for Mitch? Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful holiday.
You too.
Tony, I think that takes us down to the attorney's report.
A couple of items with regards to the continuing litigation involving PrepMac. We had scheduled with the counsel for PrepMac the taking of the deposition of Neil as the corporate representative for the district. And the day before the deposition, or 2 days before, we had an email from the attorney for PrepMac saying, have you provided the documents that you need to provide for the taking of the deposition? We said, yes, see this email from December 1st. Shortly after that, we got an email saying we need to reschedule the deposition. So it's the second or third time it'll be rescheduled, and we'll keep you apprised as to that. With regards to the public records, that the share file is 52 and change gigabytes, finally able to unzip it and download it, and I began the process. This is from Premier District Management, going through to see if any of the boxes are identified as having emails of, I'll call it a general nature, as opposed to just emails from board members. And part of the test will be, our firm had a number of emails to and from Premier District Management on a number of topics during the period of time. And I will then give Kevin and Neil's office from the list. There are a number of pages with lists of boxes that reference what documents might be in those boxes, in no particular order, by the way. I think Mr. McNamee recognizes that, and Kevin and I had a brief conversation about that. And I will identify any of the boxes that reference emails. And I will ask Neil's staff to look at those boxes and see what emails are in there. Are they on a thumb drive in there? Are they hard copy? And then I've already provided a couple examples of emails that I sent to Cal. And we can search to see if any of those are in that universe, I'll call it, of emails. If not, then it's easy enough to say, one last time, these are examples of emails that were not included in what you sent. You know, produce everything within 3 days, we're gonna file a lawsuit. I mean, I think that's what, but we finally was able to download 52 gigabytes. It's been a lot of interesting opportunities, I'll call it. So that's where we are, and hopefully we'll report the next board meeting. And I think we have the authorization from the board to file the lawsuit if we, working with Neil, and would confer also with the chairman, that we do not have, the district doesn't have, Neil doesn't have all the emails to file the lawsuit between now and the next board meeting. I think we already have that authorization. You do. Thank you. With regards to, there are a number of other documents that I think we'll have conversations in meetings with the chairman and the manager to then prepare a report to the board on various topics concerning the question that's come up in the past, and it came up during the budget adoption process, as to how many utility ERCs are possessed by the marina, and going back and looking at the site development plan approval, the letter that Cal Teague sent. So the chairman and I discussed this yesterday as an approach is sit across the table, sit around the table, the 3 or 4 of us, and have all these documents and come up with a memorandum to the board as to our recommendations.
On this table over here, I've already got some 3-ring binders.
Okay, good.
Because over the years, I've categorized, so I'm a ways ahead for.
Very good.
On that.
And so that's the status. And I've been talking with Anna Marie and Elise with regards to various matters involving Collier County. So, thank you, and I appreciate y'all allowing me to be excused from the physical presence at 11:15 because I do have a closed door session.
Well, we realize we're going to get a big break on our feed this time.
No, unfortunately for you, it's flat feet.
I understand. Just kidding.
I know. Well, if you want to go hourly, we can.
Anything else?
Were you able to hear me back there? I was trying to talk louder. I try not to act like I'm shouting. I don't want to make Kevin go deaf. So, thank you. Thank you.
I have one question, and I'd like to ask Terry, you were the past president. Did you have any physical records whatsoever that got turned over to Cal after you were done?
When you say physical records after I were done, I never received any physical records from anybody other than Cal via.
So in a year, there was no, in a year.
4 years.
Digital.
Not a year.
And there was
4 years.
no records whatsoever that were on a piece of paper? You never had outside meetings where you took notes or anything?
Yeah.
Because I remember coming to your house and you had file cabinets of it.
They were my copies that I made myself. They weren't received from.
So the only information that the old board had was emails?
Well, why would the board have the that was Cal's job, not ours. He was the keeper of records.
I never had anything either.
Like ERCs, I did a lot of personal work on ERCs from information I got from the website and from Cal. But I didn't generate it.
Yeah, I never had anything other than what was presented
Yeah,
at the
what about
meetings.
Russ? He was on the board.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
But I just found it interesting that no one on the board had a physical piece of paper that was a public record.
How would we get that piece of paper? It's a public record when it goes through Cal.
It doesn't have to go through Cal to be a public
Anything I
record.
received came from Cal, not from other sources.
Okay, good enough, move on.
Thank you, nothing further. Thank you.
And there's nothing further of a general nature of the engineer's report. We do have a couple of old business items. Item 10, from last month, we were the ones here. Any further information on the demolition of the entry walls on those two commercial properties? I know that Mr. Baird had submitted some proposals last month to have the demolition performed. That item, there was no action on. Is there anything new that staff needs to be made aware of there?
Well, we were also waiting on Tony to get some drawings or something.
Oh, the survey, and I printed them out and I didn't bring them this time, I apologize.
Okay.
But the walls are outside any easement area for any landscape that the district has. So I mean, there are significant segments that are not within any district easement for a wall, fence, or landscape buffer. That's very clear. Okay. I mean, what I'll do is I'll make sure I email it to all the board members, the survey.
Oh, I'd say we'd probably table it again because we're still waiting on a response from JC as well.
Okay, but I apologize, I will send it.
JC is ill, so he's gonna be very difficult to talk with.
The next one, Annalise, was the roadside swale maintenance, and I just made a note to myself about the sidewalk pressure cleaning. Any updates there you want to share?
Swales
Yes, ma'am.
were done, and they will probably be tweaked. We'll know with the next rains.
That's
We're sure they're not perfect, but Soto will come back and tweak them whatever way they need to be tweaked. We think there's still a couple of high spots, but we're not sure.
As soon as we get a good rain, I'll go around and videotape all of them so that they will be able to see where there's high spots.
Yeah, also, I need to get with Mitch to move some of those flush valves out of the swale on, I think it's Venus, or put it into the swale on Venus because it's in the middle of the property. And there's a couple of others. One is over near one of the roads off Newport where it needs to be closer to the riprap than it is. It's causing a problem filling people's swales. So there's 3 that have to be changed, and I need to talk to Mitch about it. I figured after the first of the year we'll address it.
Very good.
My understanding also is the sidewalk pressure cleaning project has been complete. I don't know, Annalise, if you were coordinating that with Kevin, but my understanding is that the vendor has finished that job. Anything on that?
Yes, it is finished.
That's Kevin.
I'm sorry.
It is finished.
Okay.
Yes, they did a good job.
The mosquito control proposal, we are still awaiting from the executive director there. The other item that I had here, Mr. Baird, do you want to give just a kind of an update of our meeting with the chairman of the county commission last month?
Sure.
Or last week, I'm sorry.
Let's do this. Okay, the meeting we had with Commissioner LaCastro, we discussed several topics. The first one was US 41 median landscaping. We asked the county to possibly assume the landscaping maintenance for that portion of US 41. He's going to look into what he can do to help us out there. The second item was boat trailer storage. We mentioned the concern about where they're parking in the grass over there on the Newport Drive side over at the marina. He said he's also looking into that for us. We also mentioned utility billing where we're using the interlocal agreement. Maybe we could get a higher level of service if we use the same that Collier County used, and said he'd also look into that, and we're waiting for a response for him after we outline these 3 things with him.
On the boat trailer storage, we also asked him to have the staff do some research. They enclosed the south end of their parking lot with a chain link fence and a gate. And there has been some concerns in the community that it was either not properly approved and permitted, as would anybody else if they tried to do something like that. So the boat trailer storage issue has sort of two components to it, but he otherwise, I thought, was in a really good frame of mind and supportive of this community. We reminded him it's an election year, and he asked me to memorialize our meeting with him because he was meeting this week with the senior management at the county, and he said he'd be back in touch with us right after the holiday.
Did that get done?
I sent the email to him to memorialize the topics and the issues as soon as we got done.
Very
And
good.
I copied Mr. Baird on that.
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. All good.
Any other supervisor requests
Steve, you have something quick?
and/or public comment?
Just a meeting with the county, Steve Gunther, 2577 Peacock Lane. Kevin, did you guys broach the subject of road maintenance? And the reason I ask this is, we all are county residents, we pay the same taxes as people in the rest of Collier County, and we'd like to get some services for that, where we're paying double for roads, and obviously, it's great that you had the discussion on the easement.
Excuse me.
Thank you for that.
He's got the floor.
Thank you for that, and I just wondered why you guys didn't include the road topic in that.
Well, it wasn't on our short list, but the answer to that is the county's land development code requires the platting and subdivision of residential communities to either through a master homeowners or single family or condominium association or a government district to be the party ultimately responsible for those. There are rare exceptions to that, like Naples Park or Victoria Park in Naples, because those communities precede the point in time that they had subdivision regulations. And so in the 70s, in particular areas like Pine Ridge or Victoria Park, they would come in, they would plat their community, and the county commission would require that they be built to their standard, and then they, the county commission, would accept them for perpetual ownership and maintenance. But all of that sort of stuff concluded in the early 1980s when they adopted their first subdivision regulations. We have indicated to them that one of our interests would be long-term to consider the county acquiring the utility system here, and then we would take the proceeds from the sale and bring all of the roads here, the residential streets, up to a standard where the county would consider taking them at that point. So just by way of
What did he think about that?
well, that was sort of the third item that we alluded to. I know that senior utility staff would covet the 1,000 customer base here. And the county's long-range master plan has them building some sort of regional water and wastewater treatment facility at what is 6L Farms.
Mm-hmm.
Portions of that are in the urban area, and that's going to be an opportunity to build like one of these community villages similar to Ave Maria. And so the county is headed out the East Trail. And I think the fact that your system here, for the most part, I'm talking about the plant, has been well maintained and operated, and the customer base that comes with 1,000 customers is enticing to them. So, I mean, that's a little more out on the horizon, but yeah, I think they're interested, and the guy who's the chairman of the county commission seems to be interested.
Thank you for the information. I wasn't aware that a lot of the subdivisions were privately owned. Is like Fiddler's Green, is that privately owned?
Fiddler's Creek?
Fiddler's Creek, I'm sorry.
Fiddler's Creek is post land development code, and they own and operate through their CDD the residential streets, or the individual condominiums or single family neighborhoods there own and maintain their streets.
There's actually
There are
actually two community development districts there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the information.
We represent them.
Other public comments?
I would just like Kathy Oswald, Newport, Sunset K. The get my directions mixed up. The east side, right there where the marina is, there's a huge mound. I don't know if, when, with your meeting with Mr. Castro, if that was addressed, but somehow, some way, either the marina or we got that mound taken out. The critters are gone. It looks beautiful, and I thank whoever did it for it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I don't know who did it.
There was a huge mound.
Yeah, it's gone.
Diane Fisher, Newport Drive. I just back to that building that's at the entrance of Port of the Islands. Apparently, some letters have gone back and forth to zoning, and although the area can't have live-in housing for employees or live-work units, it can be used for multifamily dwellings with sleeping quarters. So we may end up having a condo right at the entrance to our, I don't know if there's anything that can be.
I met with Tom, the owner of the hotel, again this week about that, and expressed to him that this community will be very, very unhappy if that happens. It's yet to be determined. I actually asked him if he'd be interested in selling the property to the CID so that we could prevent that from happening. He wanted a lot of money for it. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. You know, I just broached him on it now, and I will continue to push him on it. But like I said, we're doing what we can.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
How much around that does he have for parking? Is that parking lot behind?
To tell you the truth, the over plan that I've seen, it's the building.
Just the building.
That's what I'm seeing.
That's what I
But it
thought.
might be also those 2 or 3 that are on the south side.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And they have to have at least 5. But they might be able to use the parking to the west side because it's all part of the hotel. Now, another thing, while I'm thinking about it, is all the parking. The other day I went through the hotel parking lot before I talked to Tom, and there's 18 trailers in there. And when I talked to him, he said he didn't know whose those trailers were. And starting in January now, he's going to make a concerted effort to hire a company to start towing the stuff out of there. I went back through the documents that I've gotten from the marina when we bought a slip over there, and it says in there, for parking for the marina people, they can park in his parking lot on the north side of his building, or they can park on the west side, but it's a first come, first serve. And Tom was not under the impression that that's the thing, but so I suspect a lot of that stuff is marina people parking their stuff in there. But like I said, Tom's going to start issuing passes that have got to go into a window. If there's not a pass on there, stuff's going to get towed. But the county is sent their enforcement people out. Carol Williams has been working with them on that, and this stuff is going to be addressed. So that's where we are in that.
And the chief code enforcement officer will be here at your January meeting to talk specifically about code enforcement matters in this community in general, but specifically boat trailer storage.
Carol, you have something?
Yeah, Carol Williams, Wilderness. Code enforcement is really important to our community. And I would like Neil's company, our management company, to be the complainant. They have to have a name of a real person. It can't just be an HOA or a management company. It has to actually be a person's name. And you have to give them your email and your phone number. And Don Joseph from Collier County Code Enforcement has been assigned a POI. And they call you, you are a complainant, I complained, went on the portal, filled it out for the marina. And he called me back and he said, oh, this is legit. I said, yes, this is me. And he said, okay, I'll go out I'll take pictures. We looked at the trash and that huge dumpster at the end, mattresses, dishwashers, whatever. He's taking care of that, that's in his bailiwick, but we have to have a person with a name. And Don Joseph will work with you, and he's a great communicator. But I don't want to be the complainant. I don't want it neighbor against neighbor. I don't want my neighbor mad at me. And so Don said, okay, here's a suggestion. Your management company is hired to manage your business. Have someone from their company be the complainant. And I will get back with them, and I will take it from there. All I need is a complainant. And then I will go knock on the door if there's a boat and a trailer in a driveway, if there's a van with markings on it in a driveway. Those are all code enforcement issues. So I'll take it from there, and I'll give you feedback. So to me, we're paying Collier County taxes, let them do their job. Unfortunately, we have to have a complainant, and that requires a real name of a person and a phone number. So I would like, the board to, and Neil, I would like your company to be the complainant.
Yeah, the one difference is, because he called me after he called you,
Okay?
was that property managers in condominium associations or single-family homeowners, they're there to enforce deed restrictions, not to file complaints, whether it's dog leash laws or noise or boat trailer storage. And I got a lot to do, and the state statute governing CDDs, I'm not going to sign an affidavit and a complaint against anybody down here for something that's not my business. Now, he's scheduled to be here next month, and I think the question would be, what sort of routine enforcement are you doing? I mean, they were in another community I managed 2 weeks ago, and we had paid a guy to paint the street sign poles because they're ornamental poles. And a code enforcement officer stopped and got out of the car and wanted to see the license for the guy that I had hired to paint the street light poles. And so I think that's a conversation better had next month when he's here, is what do you do by way of patrolling and enforcing and running? But I'm not interested in signing affidavits involving complaints for things that I don't have any personal knowledge of.
Can you call it an affidavit?
Yeah, I mean, there needs to, in order for him to have a complaint to investigate that is specifically, there's a portal, you can go to their website and fill it out, but you do have to give them your name as the complainant, and you're attesting to the fact that you have personal knowledge of that complaint in the event that you're going to be a witness, I guess. I don't know that much about that process.
Give us 1 second. Tony, can you give us your opinion on this?
The district manager has the role, duties, and functions to operate, maintain, secure district assets and facilities. So to the extent that something occurs or is taking place that adversely affects or has an impact on the system or facility or operation of a district facility, then it's properly within the realm of the district, through its district manager, to take necessary steps with appropriate authorities. If you have a boat, a trailer, a vehicle that is encroaching into a district right-of-way, easement, facility, structure, property, or impacting any of the above, then it's appropriate for the district to get involved with code enforcement. Otherwise, in my opinion, no, because then you'd be expending public funds for primarily private purpose. And the Florida Constitution says governmental bodies can expend funds for primarily public purposes with an incidental private benefit. So, in my opinion, no. Now, again, if it occurs on district property, if it occurs on a district easement, if it impacts district property systems, facilities, or interest, yes, it's an appropriate basis.
Does anyone have any questions on what he just said?
We did tell the commissioner last week that in the case of boat trailer storage that is either adjacent to our road right-of-way or in the road right-of-way, that we were prepared to file complaints on behalf of the district for code violations. And so I just affirm what Tony is saying, but we need to have an interest as opposed to anything within the code, whether it's noise, unleashed dogs, permits or other activities you may be having at your private residence that are violations of the county zoning ordinance.
So it's our attorney's opinion that the CID doesn't get involved on what's happening on people's private property. Only what happens on CID property or easements.
Or impacts CID property. And we're not talking values in the community because that's really not,
right.
It's one of those intangibles, ephemeral kind of matter.
Do you understand that, Carol? I'm sorry.
On the POI CID website, it said, look at 189 in the state statutes or look at 190. And when I went into 190, it clearly said in the powers of a CID that there can be code enforcement issues and they can be a complainant. I have it in my notes right there. And I would like you guys to go on the POI CID website, and when you go in information, it'll see 189 and 190 in the state statute, and go down there and ask yourself if it doesn't affect our property, which you're saying not property values, but our property when people break the codes of Collier County. And so we have a management company, you have employees. In our past Premier Management, we paid somebody $1,000 or $2,000 a month to drive around this community. I'm saying, pay somebody from your company to come out here weekly, drive around, find code enforcement things, and let Don Joseph, Collier County, be the investigator.
One important, if I can, Mr. Chairman, one, not all of Chapter 189 applies to community development districts. You have to read each section because some will say these do not apply to community development districts. Some of Chapter 189 apply to dependent districts, which are, the CDD is not, it's independent, and its charter is Chapter 190.
Right.
And so I'm looking at 190 now, and I'll look for the language that says we have the power to engage in code enforcement.
I read 190 after I spoke with Carol too. It was really cloudy to me. I really couldn't tell. It almost seemed like if there was an HOA in place, you couldn't. If there was
that's
no
deed
HOA in
restriction.
place, all this stuff.
That section deals with whether or not the CDD can enforce deed restrictions, and it's all the hoops you have to go through.
Yeah.
And that's a product of the heavy lobbying by the developer of the villages.
Okay.
If you look at Morse,
Yep.
and that's what's that huge development in multiple counties. That's part of the background on that. And I'm looking at.
Go down to 4, 190.012.4.
That does not apply. Again, it's very specific. Pursuant to interlocal agreement, or it's enforcement of deed restriction enforcement. 4 is enforcement of deed restrictions, and you have to go through all the steps. It's not code enforcement.
When I read under D, which would be 190.012, and then under 4, and then D, it said the owners of property located outside the boundary of the district shall elect an advisor to the district board. The sole responsibilities of the district board advisor are to review enforcement actions proposed by the district board against properties located outside the district and make recommendations. And it's under the powers and services. And so it just.
Not to interrupt you, but it's under the subsection dealing with enforcing deed restrictions in certain communities. And there's multiple steps to go through. It's not code enforcement, it's deed restrictions. And it talks about covenants and restrictions.
In the interest of time here, let's just have Tony read this stuff over the next month and come back to us and see if his opinion isn't the
Well,
same.
let me just say this, I guess, is that the lawyer can have a suggestion. I never want to break any laws, and I don't want to get into a lawsuit. I'm asking our board to ask our management company to have an employee be the complainant. I've talked to other CIDs, and they're saying you hire a management company, and that management company is responsible to help you manage your property, and it shouldn't be neighbor against neighbor. Neighbors are afraid to be a complainant. And who wants to be the crab in the neighborhood? But the point is, if you don't follow code enforcement, Collier County sets the rules and we're supposed to enforce it. So if we don't have a board member that wants to be a complainant, right, they're an elected official, then I'm asking the management company to have an employee be the complainant under the management company. But it has to be a person's name and a phone number, and then Collier County Code Enforcement takes it from there, and they get back with you. So no more legwork has to be done.
Again,
That's my position.
I think the better approach is when he's here next month to ask him how they, as part of their duties and responsibilities, patrol and enforce the codes during the course of their normal business, in addition to complaints that may be filed.
And you know what?
Let's get it from the horse's
I can
mouth.
actually answer that,
Yeah.
and I think John will support it. I couldn't believe it, but he said, you know, the only complaint that I can start is when weeds or grass are 18 inches high, or there's a vehicle with busted out windows and it looks horrible. The trash at the hotel, he's the one that filed that complaint. But he said, I cannot help you with trailers and boats and RVs and things that make your community unattractive. So I'm sure he'll say that.
Quickly, Joe?
Yeah, maybe that's more of a question for the attorney. Joe Levy on Windward K. Are we allowed to have a committee with residents that can report to somebody and then they can make the complaint? Because the situation is a lot of neighbors don't want to complain to other neighbors in fear of
Hard feelings.
Yeah. So is there a possibility that a committee could work with one board member or a committee on their own?
Again, the same parameters apply. If we're talking about violations of county code on property where the district has no interest, either in a form of an easement, facilities, or ownership, and it doesn't impact district facilities, easements, or ownership, then in my opinion, the district has no role in calling in code enforcement or spending that public money to do so. And again, for clarification, the section cited by Ms. Williams relates to deed restrictions. There's a mechanism, a lot of criteria. If this board, if it meets the criteria, wants to enforce deed restrictions. And again, it's not code enforcement. It's deed restrictions.
Well, what's popping
And
up?
and again, I'm not even sure if this board would qualify looking at the criteria. I've never been tasked with and looking at and providing that analysis, but that's not code enforcement.
Well, after listening to what you're having to say, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering if we did go ahead and do what she's asking, and we don't really have the authority to do that, are we putting ourselves into a legal situation where if somebody decided they didn't like the CID doing this, that we get ourselves into legal issues?
I think the only possibility, I'm not sure how many people would want to spend the money to file a lawsuit against the district, get a declaratory judgment that the district isn't properly using public funds, but you never know. Okay, there's always somebody out there.
1 in 5 homes in Florida right now is in litigation. 1 in 5.
That's all I'm saying. I don't ever shut the door on people filing lawsuits.
If there are no other public comments, Merry Christmas.
And we can let Tony go?
Yeah, I appreciate it very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Your
board.
next meeting
And
will be.
I'll call in if you're still
Okay.
going. If you're still going, yeah, I'll call in.
Yes, we haven't had supervisors requests yet either.
Just a public service announcement for everybody. We're going to be starting a roofing project at the beginning of the year, and we will lose half of our parking space area. So for the next probably 3, maybe 4 months, the parking will be limited here. So bear with us while we go through this. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up when you pull in. It's hard to find parking next time. Apologies, but we'll do it.
Where is that? What are you talking about? Parking, where?
In Orchid Cove.
Oh, okay, that's all.
When we have our meeting next month, when you come to park in this lot, half of it will have.
No, you said
construction
parking, I
equipment.
didn't know where. So we're talking, it
Where
could have been the other
we want
side.
you to park?
Yes,
Where we want you to park? They're really, I would just say park along the road, and if you pull onto the fields a little bit, I think that's fine. Okay, but just parking is gonna be an issue here for the next 3-4 months as we go through this process of getting our roofs redone.
Thank you. One
Thanks
other
for-
thing I forgot, I just saw this morning that boat parade is canceled for tomorrow and it's going to be on next Wednesday. Also, under the supervisor's request, the streets resurfacing. I would like us to look at possibly starting to resurface 1 or 2 streets a year moving forward here. You know, we're bringing in about $165,000 in interest a year. We found a bunch of uncollected assessments. We're probably bringing in at least $200,000 a year now that we haven't been in the past. I would like to see us start spending some of that on road improvements here. And I went around the community, I know this is Kevin's job, but I went around on my bike and I looked, and from what I can see, probably the worst place right now is Newport Drive, especially the south side. And just to throw this out there, I was just thinking, you know, if we would go and say this summer resurface Newport Drive heading south, and then that would still leave the other lane open for people to be able to get back and forth. They'd have to do a little juggling, but they could get in and out of there. And then after that, then either this summer or next summer, do the other side, depending on costs. And as soon as we get our new engineering firm in, I'd like to start on looking into doing that.
We have a program identical to that at Pelican Marsh and Tiburon, and the engineer does an annual survey and a priority list, and then we already have a specification. If you're going to do it, you ought to mill the roads down a little bit. But I'll make a note that that needs to be part of our RFP and evaluation process, that we need somebody who's got a road group or somebody that could also do an annual survey of pavement condition and produce that sort of list. It works very well at Pelican Marsh, and we do that for roads and also lake bank restoration. We spend about $300,000 a year.
Can you, because we're a CID, can we do an interlocal agreement with the county? Is that something that's possible?
That's a great idea.
To get their rates?
If we could get, like I did a tag on to their bank service agreement as part of your new banking, and I would think that we would be eligible. If they have annual bids for milling and laying of hot asphalt, we need to try and see if we could get that same pricing on a unit price basis. I'll explore that.
But see if we can't get that in place so that we could start that early summer when everybody, or when the place is kind of cleaned out, traffic is low. But I think we need to start doing it.
Yeah, you need to try and do it in the late spring, early summer, before the rainy season, just because of, they'll mill it and then dry it and spray a tack coat and then lay the hot asphalt on top of that. You don't want to be fighting afternoon rains, but.
I know for me, looking at what they did on Stella Maris North, I'd like to have seen them put some more aggregate on top of that. It's pretty black. The rest of the streets are still fairly white.
I agree, but the gentleman that Mr. Truckee met with yesterday has an extensive background in engineering inspections, and he is the one that does the annual survey for us at Pelican Marsh and Tiburon.
Very good.
I have to say that on our road in Stella Maris North, they had a lot of trouble with the rains. It doesn't look as good as it should in some places because the rain was washing it out as they were putting it down.
That's not good.
Well, maybe we'll have a drought again next summer, like this year.
So
any other supervisor?
Well, you must have already have an idea what it costs per foot or however they measure it,
They do it on a linear foot basis because they calculate, depending on whatever the standard depth of the milling is, it's typically they're going to mill it down an inch or two and then recycle and add new virgin asphalt to it. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I can tell you what.
The 300,000 gets you quite a ways?
I can tell you let me share that with you next month. It's how wide is the lane?
Yeah, gotcha.
How many inches are we going to mill it down? And I'll tell you what the spec is and what we're spending at Pelican Marsh.
The hard part over on Newport is the oak trees that are in the middle.
That's
are
part of the
doing
spec.
a lot of our damage,
Root
but
up
I don't know what we
people,
can do
but
about that.
there's a spec for that. They'll need to take it down into the lime rock base, chop out the roots. The roots ultimately grow back, but that's all part of these scope services in the specification.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything you want to bring up?
January 19th, Kevin and I need to go eat tacos, and Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
She's got
Christmas.
one more thing.
I just have,
I need to leave in
Come on
5
up.
minutes.
if I had to dream a little, is it a
Come on up.
possibility that we could, Newport Drive could get, an expanded drive or a sidewalk or, something in the possibility? Because the problem we have is, there's nowhere to walk.
Well, there's ditches on both sides of the road. Where would you put it?
I don't know. That's why I'm just saying, is there a possibility anywhere that you could do that we could make it even a little bit wider so that you have a space?
Does the bike path work, Melanie, over there?
A little bit, but it's very narrow. I mean, could it be a little bit wider? I'm just throwing.
Think about it physically. How would you do that?
Just add a couple, 12 more inches or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
It's not right up to the ditch right now.
Anybody else? All right, I guess we're ready to adjourn now? Need a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second it?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Happy holidays.
Thank you. 19th.
We have soft truck that helps us with our street, based out of us,